came to Bloomington Normal in 2000. I never forget. I came to Chestnut Health Systems to their recovery home, which was a blessing. Coming to Bloomington Normal was the best thing ever happened to me. You know, I was able to get established, but there still wasn't a lot of resources in our community. I'm just very grateful that I was a person that was a go-getter. You know, a lot of people that get out of the criminal justice system are not go-getters, and I'm very appreciative that I was a go-getter and that I was able to find things and make things happen, but still a lack of resources. I worked at Chestnut Health Systems for 7 years, and in between Chestnut Health Systems and TASK and working for now, which I've been for 12 years, I worked at a methadone clinic in Peoria, Illinois, so I was able to get that year experience. So, like I said, I've been with TASK for 12 years. I'm the reentry support coordinator. Just to tell you a little about TASK. TASK is a referral source. We do a lot of advocacy work. Some of you guys are probably familiar with TASK. TASK works with the court system statewide. Our primary responsibility is to work between the court system to find alternatives for our men and women that getting out of the county jail. That's just one component of what we do. So what we do in that capacity with the court system is try to coordinate with the judges, lawyers, and try to find some alternatives to keep our men and women from going to prison. So we try to provide those resources, whether it's put them in inpatient treatment, put them in outpatient treatment, finding AA meetings for them, a local church service, whatever need they fit. You know, work with employers. You know, that's one thing that my focus has been on for these last 20 years is to, you know, work with employers, housing. That's one of the barriers. And that's, I think, the reason why we're on here today is because a lack of resources in that areas. You know, there's a lot of people that get out of prison, they have no place to stay. And even if they establish themselves with a job, this system, I'm going back to the system, still tears them down. In that capacity, working with that, we try to provide those resources for them to make it comfortable for them when they get out. We also have a youth and family services. A lot of people probably don't know that. Statewide, we have a youth and family services where we work with families, we work with youth to try to keep them from getting in the system. So we try to be proactive. So we try to provide them resources, whether flyers, invite them out to community events to keep our families and our children from getting involved in the criminal justice system at a young age. Last but not least, I want to focus, this is what I want to talk a lot about, and this is the work I do, is the community reentry. TASK has a program called the CTP program, Corrections Transition Program. Right now, we have two prisons in the state of Illinois. One is called Southwestern Correctional Center in East St. Louis, Illinois, and one is called Sheridan Correctional Center in Sheridan, Illinois. And so what we do, those are all drug rehab prisons. So if anybody, you know, get sentenced to prison and they go to RNC, they say, hey, I want drug rehab. We have staff there at the RNC, whether it's in Joliet or Logan or Hillsborough, that we assess them to see if they fit the criteria for that program. So we end up sending those individuals, except, well, Logan used to be a part of it, but now they're not, but those individuals that go through those RNC men's prisons, if they want to go to those all drug rehab prisons, they get on the wait list. Of course, eventually they go there. At these prisons, at these two Pacific prisons, is not only just, it ain't just prison, but they have, if a person want to go get their GED, get a culinary arts program, welding program, horticulture program, barbershop, if they want to pursue their degree, all these services are there for them at this particular prison. And not only that, we have a treatment facility on the inside called West Care. It's West Care in Sheridan, Illinois, and it's Civigenics in East St. Louis, Illinois. So while they're there and they're in these programs, they also go to treatment too. So our whole goal is to help build efficacy, help them build their life back by finding out who they are again. I look at that as starting reentry before they leave. So that's our whole focus right now with the community interest is how can we start reentry before they leave? Prior to them leaving, they meet with a case manager. While they're there, they're meeting with a case manager to get the information they need, what area they go into. So we try to put them back into a safe place. People that leave out of these 2 drug treatment programs, they are mandatory to do 25 hours of treatment prior to leaving. So when they come to this prison, there's an aftercare follow-up. So after they get treatment, we want to make sure that they're still sustaining their sobriety. If they have any needs that's going on in their life that we can work with them with, they meet with that case manager inside to prep them for when they're ready to leave. Usually 60 to 90 days prior to leaving, they have a case manager on the outside. Now, typically when a person get out of Illinois Department of Corrections, the other prisons, they don't have a case manager following up with them to help them walk them on a journey. Part of the 90 days prior to them leaving to one of these particular prisons, they meet with their case manager, either inside the prison. Before the pandemic, staff was going inside, now it's more video. They also get to meet with their case manager, then they also meet with their parole agent. So they meet with them and they talk about the expectations. So when they're ready to get out, you know, they also get the needs that the case manager get their needs that they need prior to leaving. For instance, a lot of people that's transitioning back into the community, a lot of them don't have any clothes. They don't have any, you know, household stuff. They don't have any IDs. They don't have a social security card. Part of our job is help connect them with those resources before they leave. Because if they don't have those resources before they leave, then 9 times out of 10, when they get out, they don't follow through. So we make sure we have all that established there. And also too, not say if an individual at just these 2 particular prisons don't have a place to stay. IDOC and task contracts, not local, but statewide vendors when it comes to halfway homes, transitional homes. We have those places where they can actually go when they get out. Some of them, part of their treatment is that they mandatory because of their history of what they use, because of what they've done, they automatically have to go to a halfway house. Unfortunately, in the Bloomington-Normal area, we don't have that access. And with me working on the ground, I hear when I'm in these different prisons throughout the year, I hear a lot of people talk about Bloomington-Normal. I like to go back to Bloomington, but there's no housing. They're saying I have to go to a transitional home. But we provide those services before they even leave. So if they say I ain't got nowhere to go, we help transition. And they may not go back to the state. They may not go back to the community that they committed their crime, but we'll find a safe place to go. And there's probably 50 or 60 vendors statewide that can help our people if they don't have a place to stay to come home. Once they parole from these 2 particular prisons, they go out into the community and they meet their task case manager. They're given instructions, who to call, how long they have to call, when they got to be home. So we give them specific instructions when it comes to this community reentry program. Once they come home, that's when the case manager will begin to unite with them, focus them, get them acclimated back in their community so they can focus on. I think that this particular community reentry program has been around for probably 15 years. Our goal is to hopefully get them in every prison because everybody needs some type of accountability when they come home. A lot of these guys that come home, you know, they're dealing with untreated trauma. You know, they had a bad experience in some shape, form, or fashion. You know, a lot of these guys that come home, they don't have drug and alcohol problems. They have behavior problems. The key is, though, how can we link them up with the community that offers them that service for them? And I think that's where sometimes in certain communities is that we're not connected to fix that particular population with the community. A lot of our people that's coming home from prison, they have a lot of trust issues. Some of them, they don't trust you. They don't trust me. Why? Because they've been hurt. They've been abandoned. So sometimes, you know, we treat them like a normal person. Like, you know, you should know how to do this. You should know how to do that. But when a person's dealing with untreated trauma, some of these people got to really learn stuff again. They may have had a job before. They may have had that. I know for me, when I paroled from Tam's work in February 1999, it was a long process. And it's still today. Still today. I've been on the system 20 years and it's still a process. That's why I love the work I do. That's why I'm passionate about what we're doing right now in the Bloomington-Normal community. When this first presented to me, I was like, wow, we need this. This is going to make it happen. Another program we do is called the Winter Circle. Inside Inside the prisons, they're called inner circles. Inside the prison, they're called winter circles. That's what I primarily do. My job is to go inside the prisons and help start peer support groups called winter circles. So what I do, I link up with different prisons, talk to them about bringing the support to them. Right now, before the pandemic, we had about 17 inner circles inside the prison. The whole goal with the inner circle is to bring them out to a winter circle. Before the pandemic, a winter circle was in probably 7 or 8 different communities. We have 7 or 8 different circles throughout the state. I think we have 4 or 5 in the Chicago area. We have one here in Bloomington, and we have one in East St. Louis, one in Joliet, and I think we have one in Carbondale. These particular circles are peer-led support groups that are ran by them. You know, you may say, man, what is an inner winter circle? An inner winter circle is simply another support group similar to an AARNA meeting, a Celebrate Recovery, but the inner circle is focused on people, our men and women that's being impacted by the criminal justice system. It's open to anybody, but that's the focus is. A lot of conversations that go on in different support groups, they might not be able to relate. You know, they might have had an issue with drugs and alcohol, but they still may not relate. When they're sharing their story, people may not relate the trauma they're going to. Now, what it's like being in the cell, 4x7 or a 4x8, or you know, what it feels like being in the cell when you got to watch somebody flush the toilet or use the bathroom. What is it like for when you got to be told when you got to get up and when you got to sleep and when you got to eat and all that, you know, when you can go to the gym? That's trauma. And a lot of those things that happen, men need to process that. And what a winter circle provides that safe place for those individuals to talk about those particular things. That's basically what TASK does. We do trainings. Jack Clark, he's one of our trainers that does training statewide. You look on our website, you'll see a lot of those different things. But mainly is that we try to work between the community and the client. So we try to work in between to make sure that they're successful. That's it. I just want to thank you for listening to me. I am excited. This council, I think, is well needed. I think the system needs to change, and it's going to take a village of us to make it change. You know, we got to begin to make those connections with our stakeholders. And I think a lot of thing is that people need to get educated on what a person like me and those people getting out of the system go through. A lot of people don't know what we go through. They just look at us as we're another person that has a drug and alcohol problem. We're just another person that got in trouble. It took me twice. I remember a counselor told me when I paroled, because that was my first bit parole in 99. I had a prior incarceration. And what a counselor told me one time, he said, Toy, if you get out and you try to do those same old things again, he said, you'll be right back. And I was out 4 months in between incarceration. I never forget what he said. So sometimes people think, they may not get it the first time, but remember, it's going to stick with them. And eventually, if they have to go back and do 2 or 3 more incarcerations, eventually they will get it. And I know that what's her name that works at McLean County Jail, she's probably seen it. People come back all the time. 4 and 5, 6 times. Eventually, she don't see him no more. She probably see him on a volunteer basis. I'm very grateful. I'm excited. And also, too, I work with a lot of different people in the community here in Bloomington. I see some familiar faces. Brian, who else? I see Michelle, Debbie, Kara. I'm looking forward to making this happen because if we able to come together and change the system, I think the people that are coming home, we can make a safe place for them. So thank you.
Hey, and Toy, to that point, really quick to link you and Jackie, I noticed on the survey for reentry, some of the recipients that took the reentry survey, about 56% had stated that a peer recovery support group, something like Winter Circle, would be very ideal for their acclimating back to the community. Right. Now, I heard you say before, and I've attended before COVID, it was active. Is it still active now?
Winter Circle?
Yes.
Yes, we currently, and I was going to talk about that here in a little bit once I transition.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, we currently have a virtual Winter Circle right now. Every Sunday night, I can see Angie that flyer. Perfect. Every Sunday night from 7 to 8. Jay Cooper, she's our facilitator. She facilitates that group every Sunday night virtually. Starting August, the second week of August, I start the Winter Circles back at Family Community Resource. That's where we had it at for over a couple of years. We're started back there the second week of August. And get that back going again. And also, too, if If you want to start a winter circle just in your facility or in your community, you're welcome to do that. I will come out and do a training, a free training. It doesn't cost you anything to come in your community to start a winter circle, whether it's at your agency, wherever you're at in the community. So I think that'd be great. Thanks, Angie.
Thank you.
Did anybody have any questions? So we're going to transition to our breakout sessions, and our whole ultimate goal is we want to focus on mission and vision of the council, and also continue to talk about SMART goals, long-term goals for the council. I know our last group, just to recap, I know some of the highlight things we talked about is keeping justice people involved at the center. I think that's important. I think just impacting person needs to be the focal point of these meetings. I totally agree with that. Resources while incarcerated, we can look that again, how can we build something, whether it's a one-pager, to send to the prisons of what we're doing in the community. So when they get out, they be heads up if they come to McLean County. And 3, I think you talked about is community support and training, navigating services. And then 4 is educate mentors, leaders, sharing, and working with the community, nation, countywide or citywide. Like I said earlier, is that I think that a lot of people are not educated on what reentry is and how about going about transition reentry. Basically reentry is that people coming out of the community having those services available to them. I'm not saying that we have to break our back to give them to them, but to know that's there. I shared with Angie and Kara about starting a one-stop shop. I think that when we come together, start a one-stop shop where we can bring resources together quarterly, where we get DMV involved, where we get Social Security involved, because those are barriers that keep guys from getting jobs. They don't have IDs. How can we make it easier for them to get that stuff they may need? So Angie, if you don't have nothing, we're gonna break out into the sessions and continue to have discussions on the mission, visions, whatever we need to do to make this council happen.
Excellent. And everyone, I'm going to go ahead and send you to your rooms. And right now, just discuss what you see as a vision or mission or some end goals. We want to help formulate our vision for this group. So that's what we're breaking out in our rooms discussing, and some maybe high end goals. All right. So how did that go?
It went good, I thought.
Same. So I'll go ahead and I think there were 5 groups. So with that being said, I was in group 1. So I will give a recap of my group. And then if someone for each group would just give us a quick recap, and we'll kind of wrap it up there. And then we'll talk about a springboard into our next session, which would just drop a seed right now, will be June 30th, 1 to 2:30.
Did you mean July?
Tori, good catch. Yes, July.
Okay.
So we were in group 1, and in group 1, it was myself, Debbie Reese, Jackie Matthias, and Bethany Bain, and then also Taylor. Sorry, I'm like, Taylor's right there, Taylor Davis. And what we were discussing first, I was a little strategic in putting us together just because I know Home Sweet Homes is right now in the process of developing a community center. And it's either in their premises of Mission Mart. And so just trying to, figure out, is there some space for some reentry initiative? And so we did speak to that. There will be some space, and that's at 301 East Oakland, where the old Mission Mart used to be. And there'll be some space for possibly job development, some transitional support, someone on site for like paperwork, getting an ID, driver's license, so the security card to answer questions. A person, not virtual, not a telephone. Hey, push number 3. Can I just talk to somebody? Push number 4, I didn't get that. No, it's an actual person and it's not computerized. So, and then also a meeting room for like GED supports. And in the survey that I alluded to earlier, and Jackie brought it up in our group, is that a lot of people coming, filling out the survey for community supports that have been impacted, either themselves or family members, really need a peer support group, just like Winter Circle. So we were talking about maybe, going through, as Toy talked about earlier, and we'll probably revisit as well, Recircle, that we can become facilitator trained to run as many Winter Circle meetings as we need to. They do have one on virtual platforms, 7 o'clock on Sundays. But this is space too, that another location aside, not trying to take away from the Family Resource Center that they're picking back up, it looks like in August, but have a couple of different venues, different times of day, maybe even focused on adolescents. Me, I'm a dreamer, so let's put it out there, put it out to the cosmos. So that could be another option. And then from there, a female focused support group Jackie offered. And then also some of the vision and mission, some of the buzzwords that we're talking about that should be incorporated into a vision or mission for this group in general is relationships, belonging. What do people need to thrive, not just merely survive in their communities? That human connection factor, equality for everybody. I can only imagine and empathize with someone that has, been impacted in whichever way, trying to apply for a job or trying to find somewhere to live, or even trying to get driver's license. Any of these things that we take for granted that we individuals that have not been impacted, the layers of just paying for anything over and over again, explaining over and over again, being denied over and over again for something that you've already rectified and in a sense paid for. So it's that kind of frustration that I want to try to eradicate and try to make this more seamless for everyone. This is, again, a very big part of the vertebrae of a reentry council. So we want to incorporate that into our vision and our mission. Trauma-informed care. All humans require support, multiple pathways. There's multiple means to thriving in our community, not just merely surviving. And then the last one is some of the barriers that we need to remove, not necessarily part of our vision or mission statement, but we need to move is the lack of structure, lack of support, and the societal and infrastructure racism. So who would like to pick it up from group 2?
So I will pick it up. Group 2 was comprised of myself, Susan, Toy, Jeanette, and Rhonda. And as far as vision, we talked about creating a coordinated approach to offering services where it would also be peer-led in that people would be there to help individuals throughout the entire process. So, but the vision was just having a coordinated approach that would help individuals with employment, housing, mental health, whatever it may be, that it would just be a coordinated approach, and that there would be a linkage agreement with all of these different organizations, and then it would be peer-led to where people could walk people throughout the entire process. Some of the concrete things that we came up with as far as goals was identifying people that could help identify grant money that could help support us. We also talked about having a steering committee that could meet with stakeholders and then bring the information back to the council. We talked about having focus groups with directly impacted individuals to ask them the same question, like what would your vision be for a reentry council, and see what feedback they would share. We also talked about credentials, having a peer credential that individuals could use even as they're still inside prison to help support other individuals. And of course, we talked about the advocacy and addressing not just the policy barriers, but the social barriers that people live with having a record or being a former substance abuse user. There's embarrassment and stigma that comes along with that. And so we talked about finding creative ways, such as maybe creating an alumni for individuals who have transitioned successfully from programming that could then become spokesmen or women to support people just in the beginning and being that face to show that it's possible, that I've been in that seat and this is how I sort of was able to navigate and make it through, but then also having a listening or evaluation component to where we could identify policy barriers and connect to other coalitions that are working to address the barriers. If I missed anything, please, group 2, jump in.
No, you did good. Thank you.
Right, that was excellent. I really love that part. I loved it all, don't get me wrong, but having people coming to the table, giving their opinion instead of us being assumptive and saying, oh, this is what we need for our community. which I know Jackie did do a survey, so we'll be referencing the survey as well. Who's the batter up for group 3?
You guys really knocked it out of the park. You guys covered basically all the same stuff that we did. So I'll just recap a little bit. So we think it's important to have justice involved people at the center of this, since they are within all the different realms of it. We think it's important to use priorities with our tasks, since this is a new council, starting off with something smaller and then going to the bigger ideas. So one of the more basic ones should be basic, but it won't be in the real world, but connecting people with IDs, because that's really a first step to get a job, to get housing, everything. So starting with that and then expanding out from there. Exploring ways we can turn people into mentors. You guys have both touched on that. I mean, we've seen in substance use, all different things, that having a mentor is extremely helpful for people. Somebody that's been through it already and can, you know, more or less hold your hand as you go through the process, and be your cheerleader throughout it. And then bringing together a group of resources for people. There was a group in Chicago that brought together names of realtors or jobs that are more sympathetic to people in reentry. So kind of pooling those resources for people so they don't get knocked down 25 times trying to get housing or a job or something like that. Having that list pre-made to give to people. That pretty much covers it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. I know it's usually typically the first like 1, 2, 3 groups like covers a lot. So it's like group 4 and 5. I mean, you probably got it made. So who's gonna talk for group 4? Vera, are you laughing? Are you like, yep? So I'll phrase it this way. Anyone from group 4, whomever would like to speak, is there anything that is not covered?
I don't know what group we were in. I don't even know what number.
That's true. I'm
We're
sorry.
fine.
Yeah, so,
Okay, no.
Now, go for it, Amy. Amy or Michelle, Faley, or Kara?
Sure. Michelle or Carol had to back me up because they were very diligent in taking notes. But we actually, as I'm thinking about it, we talked a lot about the same things like systemic, normalizing and ending stigma within the community, possibly doing like a needs assessment, as far as like getting information on the perception of the public. And so we can look at how to first end that myth of people not being safe. I mean, we talked about like, of course, there's some people you don't want to be called alone with, but the majority of the people that are just as involved are not these dangerous, scary people. And then we talked about like if there was that sense of safety, then like connection and building relationships. So that kind of fits into like that mentor thing. That was super cool. And so just, yeah, a lot of the macro level, looking at policy, like not even someone talked about like employment, but also even like how those systems as a whole are structured to either assist people or to kind of not assist people. What am I missing? Because I feel like we talked about, and we talked about with like defining justice involved, like, does that also mean civil and criminal? Or maybe we were making it too complicated. And we also, like, as far as like that huge spectrum of like, not just during that transition time of coming out of incarceration, but like some people may be really like gung-ho in the beginning, or they don't realize how many challenges there are until they have been out for a while, or maybe some people don't even spend time in jail. So just making sure like whatever services or whatever is implanted to help people, that it's not just communicated at time of transition, it's communicated at other times.
It's like an ongoing.
Yeah, I think one of the things we said was a guided program to help people impacted by the justice system. So it is a toolkit that they might receive when they are incarcerated. That way they can know what needs to be done as they are transitioning back into the community. Then when they also speaking with parole officers and people in the justice system about what they need for people to know, what things they see are being missed, that would be a good thing to also bring to educate the community, because that's a lot of the conception is just their perception. And so we need to demystify incarceration and why people are incarcerated. It could be something they're equally guilty of, and they just don't realize that you just weren't caught. So get the public's perception and try to bring in the people in the justice system. So have all three components, the community, the justice system, and those people impacted to speak about what needs to be done and to kind of reduce those barriers in there. And then I think first and foremost, really almost you need to talk to other reentry councils to make sure we're not reinventing the wheel and see what they're doing. And we could get great ideas, things we're not thinking of, tweak what they have, give them some ideas.
Excellent. Thank you, Michelle. And to that point, really quick, there will be a representative from the Bloomington Police Department, either Kyle or John. I'm kind of working that out with and Greg Scott. So there will be representation, hopefully at the June 30th meeting to either gain awareness or share. And then also, I am on the state reentry council. They had the first meeting last month. I think there's a few other people on here, maybe Becky or Toria Marlin. So that then, and then we have just a couple minutes left. So Corey, is there anything to add?
I'm sorry. Can I just add the one last thing that we had?
Sure.
Sorry. The one last thing we had too was, and this isn't definitely not a popular topic, and there's a lot of stigma, probably for a lot of reasons, but making sure that the sex offender population is not being left out.
Yeah.
Because we all know like they have way less services than most people that are justice involved, because a lot of programs will exclude them or they're not able to participate because of that background. And just making sure that we're including them and that they're getting services too. So then that way they're less likely to reoffend, which would be the goal. So
that's true. And also too, I wanted to add that I'm working on getting a parole commander that covers McLean County area to be a part of this next meeting. I have not spoken with him directly, but I've spoken with some of his parole agents. And so I think it'd be good if we have parole involved. Another thing I want to add too is that I know I've been talking with Michelle about connecting with the McLean County Detention Center of providing resources there too. So hopefully, you know, even though sometimes those individuals may go to DOC, they still will have a resource. So whenever they come home, they have the information they need. And if they bond out or probation out, you know, they have those resources they need for the Bloomington Library. You know, after this talk, I know we only got another minute here, but after speaking with Michelle a couple of weeks ago, I was like, wow, this is huge.
We feel like the library is sorry, Toy, just
no, you're good.
Information. We protect information for people. And so we want to be able to give information. I think that all of you have wonderful jobs and wonderful resources, but we have the ability to put it all together and share that information. And so that's what we would like to do, is to come up with that toolkit that we can give into the facilities. And it doesn't have to be just for the jail. And we could then use that and be a soft handoff when they come out, that they can come see us. And I think Debbie and having the Home Sweet Home, having it there at their facility is great, but they can come in and talk to me and I will guide them through what they need to be doing, how to get on the computers. And then if they need to talk to somebody else, I'm going to talk with them to that person so that it's not just go here, go there, talk to PATH. And so we're actually going to, what do you need to when you're going to these people, and help them get that. And so it just becomes seamless. That's what we would like for it to be.
And I'll go real quick because I know we're running out of time. So our group was Angelica, Danelle, and Vera. And what what we said, and Vera was a great leader. We said that we have to really look at assessing the community along a continuum. We want a continuum of points of service and supports that goes from, you know, those very entry level things, like you said, like getting a driver's license, all the way to very, very significant extreme amounts of support that, you know, might go to very intensive therapy and medications and whatever it might be. But we know first we have to, in our community, assess what do we already have, and then where are the gaps, or where are places where we need to really enhance something that we already have. And then the second part of that, we also said, is before people ever leave to re-enter, there should be an assessment done so they can figure out on a functional level and a need level where that person is entering back to us. So we know where in the system to plug them in. So we know what kind of, where on the toolkit, you know, we need to say, you need to work on, you need these resources, because based on this assessment that was done, we know this. And I would like to believe that some of that's already being done, but whatever that is, we need to firm that up. So basically we want to build this systemic system that identifies the needs of the person before they ever leave, and then they come to us with a plan, and we help them execute the plan by matching their need to the level, matching the level of their need to the level of supports that we give them when they re-enter. The end.
Excellent. That's an excellent point. I'm glad your group brought that up. Everyone also has some great collective knowledge, is a great collective feedback. Thank you so much. And I'm gonna turn it over to Toy to close out the meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Once again, thanks everyone for attending our meeting. I'm so excited about where we're going. We will be in touch with some of you guys, some emails about maybe being part of the leadership team or a steering committee. I think that's important that we begin to form some of that, so we get to talk about some ideas, getting some grants and things like that. So thank everyone. It's 2:32. If you have any questions, you can email us, me, myself, Don, Angie, or Vera, if you have any questions about, even if when we leave here, if you got some ideas, give them to us.
Inundate us.
Jackie, I will be in touch with you.
I have to say one more thing. One-stop shop. That was Vera's big point. Forgive me, Vera, I almost didn't say that. So one-stop shop, when people come out, they got one place they start, and then that goes to wherever else they need to go. So that's very huge.
Michelle,
and money.
Person. Michelle,
and money.
Library, is that?
You're right,
and
Vera.
money.
We need money.
We need grants. We need money to do this. An emergency. That was a lot. We talked about the emergency need that, yeah. Because sometimes they help people when they want help. That second they wanted help, but it was unavailable. So now they done reverted back to what they know how to do, and it returns them back to jail. So getting people right at that second. So, and I know we don't have the money to do emergency stuff, but sometimes there are emergency needs to reach the people we're trying to reach.
Yes, and we know there's money in McLean County, but you got to get connected with the right people.
I know.
Yeah, and then I'll be inviting, to Randy's point, Amy's point, Musali, one of the co-owners of one of the realty companies, Class Act Realty. So with that being said, everyone have a great weekend. Amy,
Good
you
weekend,
are
everyone.
taking all the notes next time. Volunteer. I'm just kidding.
Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
All righty.
Great day.
Bye-bye.